So it's about mid-May right now, mid-May 2022, and it's actually the second time that I come to hike on Mont-Tremblant. The first time I came here was last year, around this time of the year. When I was here last year and I had climbed Mont-Tremblant for the first time, the feeling of climbing the mountain was one of death. I was so completely out of shape that just climbing an actual mountain like this, I'm not even sure how my body even made it to the top on that particular day last year that I came. But what actually strikes me is that, and why it's so special for me to come here this year, is that I've actually been taking my health very seriously over the past year or so. I've really made sure to be eating well, to be exercising on a regular basis. And it turns out that actually being here this year, it feels a lot easier. It feels very manageable right now. It's really not nearly as big a challenge this year as it was last year. And I'm not saying this to brag, okay? I'm actually saying this to you because I think that no matter what's your own physical condition, no matter what's your age, no matter how out of shape you think you are, you can actually improve, and you can probably improve your condition significantly if you start to work out on a regular basis, if you start eating well, these sorts of things. For me, being here today and having such an easy time climbing this particular mountain that last year when I was climbing it, I wanted to completely die, is a sign of how much progress I have done and how much progress it is possible to do. Even within a year, you can be completely out of shape, not even be able to run like 100 meters as I was last year. And by taking your health seriously, by working out on a regular basis, doing physical activities that you enjoy, you can improve your condition significantly. And that, for sure, is a lesson worth sharing. You know what I hate about these things? The water in the tube actually gets quite hot, so you always have to take a mouthful of hot water before you get a mouthful of nice, cool water. Look at that guy just drinking lake water like a champ. Enjoy your stomach warm. Make sure to give it a pretty name. So it's about 30 degrees right now, and it's midday. And I'm here in the forest, and I'm just walking around with these long pants, as you can see. And I even have long socks. I feel kind of stupid doing that, but the reason why I decided to do that was just to avoid having my legs bitten by mosquitoes and ticks and stuff like that. Especially here in Quebec, it's actually quite known. We have some pretty dangerous ticks that can spread nail disease, NIL. I'm not sure how you say that again, but anyway, just some kind of thing that you really don't want. So my legs are kind of hot right now, but you know what? I'm gonna take that over getting some type of exotic disease that I'm gonna have to carry for the rest of my life or something. Come on, you gotta stop with the stairs. This is killing my vibe. I'm here to get lost in the great wilderness and feel as if I'm completely away from civilization. Now, I'm not remotely close to someone I would consider to be an athlete, but since I feel that I've successfully picked up physical exercise habits over the last year, there's a few tips there I think that I can share. And the fact that I'm not an athlete and that I do also consider myself to be a beginner in this means that if you are just starting off yourself, maybe this will actually be more relatable to you. But one of the things that I found is that taking a little bit of perspective on the reasons why I want to get in shape, why I want to start to do more physical exercise, helps to set a realistic timeline with which to go about changing and improving our habits there, right? I want to be doing physical exercise for, let's say, the next 50 years. So what difference does it make if it takes me over a year to slowly ramp up the amount of exercise that I do, right? To make sure that I have a chance to develop a love for it, that I'm not pushing my body too hard in the beginning, actually both physically and mentally, that I just feel like giving up, you know? If we're gonna change a habit for the next 50 years or so, why not take a full year just to very slowly prepare ourselves mentally, gradually ramp up the amount of exercise that we do, gradually ramp up how frequent that habit happens, so that we really don't burn ourselves out and that we really make sure to develop long-term habits that will be there with us forever. Look at that. Shows you this is a ski resort. Mid-May, 30 degrees outside, and yet you still got snow on the mountain. I have to say, walking over this is quite refreshing. My butt's already getting wet though. At the beginning, I would really only work out pretty much only once per week, just to give myself a chance to get used to it, give my body a chance to get used to it. And then gradually, I started incorporating more sessions, more type of activities. And I did that for months. In fact, it probably took me about 6 months or so until I started to do physical exercise on a daily basis. And even today, there's days where I probably won't really feel like doing exercise for some reason. And I don't beat myself over that. If there's one day and I really just don't feel like working out, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. I'll just do it tomorrow, and I'll just take a day off and I'll enjoy my day off, as opposed to feel guilty about the fact that I'm not actually doing exercise that particular day. One of the worst things that we can do is to be very strict with ourselves very quickly in the beginning, especially to demand that we absolutely do running twice a week and go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week, and that we essentially go from zero to what we expect to do for the long term in a very short amount of time. We're putting the difficulty very high when we're actually doing that, and we're just making it so that it's a lot easier for us to simply fail at developing a new habit there. I find that the most important thing in the beginning really is just to develop a little bit of regularity. We really make a habit out of something. The word habit there, I think, is the important one. Even if it's only once per week, even if it's only once every 2 weeks, if we do something, as long as we can stick to it, then we have a chance of developing a habit. And once that is ingrained as a habit, then we can look into developing a little bit more frequency in there. And the great thing is that if something has been ingrained as a habit, as we try to develop a little bit more frequency in there and we fail at it, we'll probably just fall back on our old ways of only, let's say, working out only once a week instead of doing it 2 to 3 times a week, as opposed of giving up on it entirely because it simply is too demanding for us and we haven't given ourselves a chance to make a habit out of the habit that we are trying to develop. One thing always strikes me when climbing a mountain, every step that I take up the mountain is one step I have to take back afterward to get back down. And the way down isn't always easier than the way up. Other than that, the other most important thing, of course, is to do things that we enjoy. If we don't enjoy what we're doing, there's no way we're going to be able to keep up the motivation when the going is going to get tough. For me, that is just very clear. No matter what type of habit we are trying to pick up, it has to be designed in such a way that we find it enjoyable. Now, it could be that we get that joy out of the simple fact that we are sticking with something that is very hard. We are doing something that is very hard, and we feel great about the fact that we are able to do it, and that is where we find the enjoyment. If that's a source of enjoyment, then that's wonderful. And I think that that's actually a very strong source of enjoyment that is sure to keep us going for quite a long time. You know what's dumb? New Year's resolution. Like, who invented that anyway? It kind of makes you think that there's really only one time of the year where you're kind of allowed, or that you should try to improve your life, improve your habits, you know, do a change for the positive there. I don't know anyone who's implemented successfully a New Year's resolution and who has really stuck with it, you know. All you hear is people start a New Year's resolution and then like a few weeks later, maybe even a few days later, they kind of give up. They're like, actually, nah, because they weren't actually trying to take a resolution for the right reasons. We haven't completely convinced ourselves that that particular change is a change that is worthwhile if we do it in the context of a New Year's resolution. It has to come from within us. And so I don't do New Year's resolution, like, ever. If there's something that I think I can do, that I can improve within my life, I'm gonna start now.
Do it!
I can never start something the same day. You know, for me it's always like, oh no, tomorrow.
Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it!
That's what I'm talking about. When in doubt, follow the path markers. We have to give ourselves perspective when it comes to implementing changes within our life that we want to be for the long term, right? Let's say that we want to stop quitting cigarettes or something. Stop quitting cigarettes. No, actually, I think we want to quit cigarettes. Quitting cigarettes is really hard. I mean, I've done it myself. I used to smoke. I have smoked for quite a few years when I was back in college, and I have successfully stopped that as well. That was really, really hard. Sure, you know, like maybe we're going to be successful for a few days, and then 3 days later, we're going to, you know, something is going to happen within our life. We're going to have a particularly bad day, and we're just going to give in. We're going to give in to the temptation. We're going to smoke a cigarette. There's no reason to feel bad about it. I mean, it's only one cigarette, and we're trying to implement a habit within our life that will be with us for the rest of our life, you know, to quit smoking. So we need to allow ourselves to be human, to have moments where we're going to feel a little bit weak, and put that into perspective, you know, put that in the context. Like, we are implementing a change to our life that is going to be hard. Therefore, there will be moments where it will be a bit harder, where we're not going to pull through. The thing that is important is that those moments of weakness, those moments where we actually give in to the temptation, we simply start to space them further and further apart. We can try to improve our score instead. If we have done 3 days, maybe we can go and try to do 4 days instead, right? And if we do that, and if we constantly improve our habit like that, little by little, we're really setting ourselves up to make meaningful changes on the long term. Made it to the top. Got a bunch of dude bros here just hanging out, enjoying life. So when it comes to changing and improving habits, or quitting something, let's say, or starting to pick up exercise, some people may feel that it works for them to go from 0 to 100 very quickly. But for me, I just don't see the point. If I'm going to change a habit for the long term, it doesn't matter if it takes me months, perhaps even years, to slowly adapt to the change that I'm doing within my life. As long as those changes stick and they very gradually improve with time, then in the end, we'll reach all of our goals.